This is St. Louis Cardinals baseball. And tonight from Busch Stadium, game number 2 of the 4-game series. It's the Colorado Rockies and the St. Louis Cardinals. Jim Hayes is with us. That's Rick Horton. I'm Dan McLaughlin. Delighted to have you with us. An exciting win for the Cardinals last night. Exciting day for the front office. A lot of changes for St. Louis.
A lot of moves throughout baseball. I think the real winner, Dan, was the National League. A lot of marquee players coming over to the National League because so many American League teams are out of it. So you've got Machado, Archer, Dozier, and others now wearing National League jerseys.
And the Cardinals made a deal sending Tommy Pham to Tampa Bay. We'll have more on that in a moment, but let's go back to last night and really this run that Marcell Ozuna is on. He is one of the hottest batters inside that Cardinals lineup.
The average is climbing, the RBIs are climbing, and so is the power of Ozuna. He just seems a lot more comfortable, a better approach, better balance at the plate, and he's really the thump the Cardinals have been looking for all season long, and maybe he's arrived.
The walk-off last night. What's in store for game number 2? Coming up, we'll talk about the trade of Tommy Pham. You'll hear from President of Baseball Operations John Mozeliak. A visit with the Cat is next. Tampa Bay this afternoon after 12 seasons in the Cardinals system. With more on that, our man on the scene, Jimmy the Cat Hayes. Jim, what do you have?
Danny, the Cardinals were actually very active today heading into the trade deadline, pulling off a couple of trades today. In the first deal, as you mentioned, Tommy Pham sent to Tampa for 3 minor league prospects: outfielder Justin Williams, who was an International League All-Star this year, and pitchers Genesis Cabrera and Roel Ramirez. Cardinals president of baseball operations John Mozeliak says the trade was based on trying to create opportunities for younger players.
When you look at where we were, I think staying status quo was not getting it done. Obviously, trying to create opportunity also for O'Neill and Bader was something that we thought we needed to do. And so when we were looking at all our options, the one thing that we felt gave us some future hope was to try to move Tommy now.
In the second trade, the Cards dealt AAA outfielder Oscar Mercado, a second-round pick in 2013, to Cleveland in exchange for a pair of minor league outfielders. The Cards also announced today that Carlos Martinez goes on the 10-day DL with a minor shoulder strain. Tyler Webb recalled to take his place. Tyler O'Neill recalled to take the roster spot that Tommy Pham had. Dan?
All right, Jimmy, thank you. So, opportunities for guys like Tyler O'Neill and Harrison Bader. O'Neill is in the lineup tonight. He'll be in center. We've got baseball, and it's coming up. Wherever legendary MLB moments happen, Budweiser will be there. And by Chevrolet, the #1 selling brand in the St. Louis area. Find yours at your Mid-America Chevy dealer. With Busch Stadium in St. Louis, what's in that salsa? Some hits, some homers, and maybe some more wins. Baseball coming up. I'm Dan McLaughlin. 72 degrees as we play here on July 31st in St. Louis. The rookie sensation Jack Flaherty to the mound for the Cardinals. He has been outstanding. Opponents only hitting .209 against him. That's sixth lowest in the National League.
And what the National League really can't hit is his slider. It's been virtually untouchable. The batting average against that pitch just 119. It's a dominating slider, really, in my view, one of the best sliders we've seen in the National League this year. And he's going to throw it a fair amount, 30% of the time. Flaherty, a very good young talent who does not seem to scare very easily.
Bud Black has a very good young team, and they have caught fire coming into St. Louis. And right now, Colorado 57-48. They are one game back in the National League West Division. The Cardinals 2 games above 500, 7.5 games back in the National League Central. Mike Schilt, the manager of the Cardinals. A lot of moving parts. Tommy Pham no longer here, as Jim Hayes reported, the trade that took place with Tampa Bay, and also all the moving parts in the bullpen.
And so what Mike Schilt's trying to do is keep all of it moving forward and moving in a positive direction. That's really the best way to describe him. He's a guy that looks for positives.
That's the camera of Phil Nichols catching Charlie Blackmon, one of the top leadoff men in all of baseball. He's hitting .290, 20 home runs, and he's driven in 47. He is a good one. And he's riding a 12-game hitting streak coming into play tonight. The lineup: Blackmon, Desmond, Arenado, Gonzalez, Story. He's back in there. He was a pinch hitter last night. Then Parra, 2 really good catches in left field last night. Ryan McMahon, the second baseman. Tom Murphy behind the plate. And John Gray, the pitcher, batting ninth. Despite Monday's loss, the Rockies have won 19 of their last 25. So you get the idea. It's a hot team right now in St. Louis. And the first pitch is striking. We're underway.
They swept the Oakland A's at home before coming on this road trip, and their pitching was outstanding. They fixed their bullpen. Their lineup is good. And I think they're showing the way for the Cardinals of what can happen if you go on a run.
And the 0-1 pitch. There's that breaking ball. It's Joe West behind the plate, the crew chief. Nick Lentz at first base. Mark Rippiger at second, and Marty Foster, the third base umpire. The 1-1.
I just had a visual, Dan, of Joe West doing games in the year 2057.
Yep. And at that point, 78 CDs.
And you're saying, and our third base umpire, Joe West. He's been doing this for 85 years.
He's been around a long time. That pitch in the dirt. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Charlie Blackmon in 31 games against the Cardinals, a .344 average. Just missed. Little low and outside, and now a full count. A single off of Carlos Martinez in the 5th inning to extend his hitting streak to 12 last night. The outfield is straight away. Fouled back in a good rip. So a different look in center field tonight with Tyler O'Neill, and he can play all 3 outfield spots. I'm not sure he could accomplish much more down in the minor leagues.
Leading the PCL in home runs. We've talked about that. Bader, of course, has had diminished playing time, but really can play center field.
Out to Marcell Ozuna for the first out. Last night's hero with the walk-off homer. I was surprised to learn that last night was the first time ever Ozuna has had a walk-off homer.
High school?
I did not go back into his little league stats. However, in the major leagues,
I'm sure he did that in his neighborhood in the Dominican somewhere. I'm sure he had a moment just like this, imagining that he would be a big leaguer doing it. And he would get all the joy of circling the bases and getting pounded by his teammates at home plate. That was fun.
Jim Hayes lived to talk about it.
Thankfully.
Jim was part of that celebration as well. Time called by Ian Desmond. Teams have been doing that. And for those of us that watch every fifth day Jack Flaherty go to the mound, teams will step out against him. There's a ground ball. DeYoung settles, throws, the out. The Cardinals defensively around the horn, presented by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. Ozuna, O'Neill, Fowler in the outfield. Jerko, DeYoung, Garcia, Carpenter on the infield, and the 9-time All-Star Yadier Molina behind the plate. So Greg Garcia at second base tonight. Munoz on the bench. Nolan Arenado. You got 28 home runs, most in the National League. Hit the grand slam last night. You thought at that point in the game that might be enough for the Rockies to take game one.
You know, it's a little thing, Dan, but little things can add up to be big things. But I like the footwork of DeYoung on that last ground ball. I think he'd gotten into the habit of just throwing on the run, and he's made some errant throws, some throws in the dirt, some wide throws to first. And I think he just got in the habit of that after coming off the disabled list. And on that one, he was able to set his feet better and make a good, strong throw. And, you know, timing is not just offense, it's defense.
Working a lot with Jose Oquendo on what you're talking about, the footwork. Paul was telling me the other day, he said, I just could not believe how good Jose Oquendo was with drills. And then in particular, how you arrange your feet and circle a baseball or even around the bag.
Isn't that really what a coach's value is? You know, you could Google the information. You can get the knowledge is out there in a lot of places, but how do you go from A to B with it? And what are some ways to get that proper footwork and work on that footwork in a way that will relate to playing baseball? So it's a drill you do that's not during a game that will help you during a game. That's not necessarily easy to figure out.
The 3-2 struck him out. A strikeout here in the first for Jack Flaherty as he gets Arenado. And the Rockies go 1-2-3. To go. Can he become just the third Cardinal ever with more than 10 in this month? McGuire did it twice. Jim Edmonds did it back in 2004. He's the Cardinal leadoff man. If the Cardinals somehow catch fire and get themselves in postseason play, Matt Carpenter is an MVP candidate. It's been that good. Carpenter, Molina, DeYoung, then Ozuna, Jerko, O'Neill, Fowler, Garcia, and Flaherty. I was talking with John Mozeliak about that the other day. As you get a look at John Gray, and he said, "You're right." He said, "But we got to win." MVPs and those types of awards come with winning clubs. And the first pitch is strike two, Carpenter.
I was impressed that on a national level, what Carpenter's been doing over the last couple of months has gotten such attention. As we look at the Hyundai pitch arsenal of John Gray, who's had an interesting year, but I just think with the Cardinals playing around 500 a lot of the year, that could go kind of under the rug a bit. And Carpenter, last 2 months, phenomenal what he's done.
He said, "I'm in a state where I'm so relaxed that if a pitcher makes a mistake, I feel like I'll just punish anything right now." And to his credit, did not deviate from his stance or chase pitches out of the zone. He said, "I'm a big believer in baseball that you have to stick with your process." No balls and 2 strikes. Carpenter with a drive into deep right at the wall. It is gone. A leadoff homer in history. The most leadoff home runs in Cardinals history. Breaks the tie with Lou Brock. And it's 1-0 St. Louis.
If the pitcher makes a mistake, I'm going to punish it. Is that what he said?
That's what he said.
That's what he did.
And that's grounded foul, and Arenado still a pretty good play.
Gray knew it right away. He went down to a knee. Cargo not sure. Great start to this ballgame.
It's now 22 career leadoff homers for Carpenter, and for him a historic moment anytime you pass the great Lou Brock.
And not inconceivable that he'll lead the National League in home runs this summer.
Now up to 26.
Arenado with 28 leads the league.
And the 1-1. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Fouled back, and a good cut by Molina.
Dan, you and I were checking the numbers for John Gray, who's making his 20th start. Already off to a rough start, and his numbers would not indicate such a high ERA. It's almost baffling. The walks aren't bad. The hits per innings pitched aren't bad. Hasn't given up a ton of home runs. Hasn't hit a lot of guys. But has a 5.16 ERA. My guess is, Dan, that he's been painted a few times by his bullpen. That's number one. And he's also had bad strings and bad innings where big numbers have occurred.
The 2-2. Molina with a fly ball out to left. There's Parra coming in, and he'll make the catch. Go back to what you were talking about here, Rick.
Swing and miss rate in the National League. You know, these are the big boys here, and Gray's on that list, 31%. Yet his ERA doesn't match DeGrom, Scherzer, Corbin. You know, those are guys who are having big time seasons, but Gray is not. It's just very odd to me. He pitched the wild card game in 2017 for Colorado. He started and had a rough particular game that night.
The young flies out to Cargo, and there's 2 away. How about the torrid streak Marcell Ozuna is on right now? The walk-off homer. You know, to his credit, he's kept the average all season long right around that 265, 280 mark. But you've been looking for that thump, and now you're starting to get it.
And it's a difference maker. He is just an RBI shy of Jose Martinez now for the team lead. Matt Carpenter on both of their heels, and that's a friendly competition. That's not, you want to push each other in that.
GMC leaderboard, most hard-hit baseballs this season: Markakis, Anderson, Yelich, and then Ozuna. That's taken low. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Does that surprise you?
To see Ozuna on there?
Yes.
No. Nick Markakis? Yes.
Yeah, Nick, right.
Brian Anderson, not many know about him. Young player. Could be the rookie of the year. Yelich, yeah, I could see that. Ozuna, he hits some pretty hard baseballs. I mean, to me, that's why he gets the singles. A lot of ground balls that find holes. That's hit sharply to third to Arenado. He slings it over to first. The home run, historic. 22nd time, Matt Carpenter with a leadoff homer. Breaks the tie with Lou Brock, the Hall of Famer. A souvenir and a 1-0 lead. Cardinal fans still filing in. Cardinals with the trade of Tommy Pham. More on that. Let's check in with Jim.
Yeah, with that deal that sent Tommy Pham to Tampa came speculation that the Cardinals maybe at least in part traded away Pham because of his comments in a Sports Illustrated article earlier this season. The Cards say absolutely not. President of Baseball Operations John Mozeliak said this of Pham: look, performance matters, but as a front office, we were his biggest advocates. He was in the organization for 12 years, injured a lot, with a lot of ups and downs. Most people that had his track record don't make it here. And Dan, as you guys touched on earlier, Mozeliak says the trade was about creating opportunities for younger players like Harrison Bader and Tyler O'Neill.
Well, they're going to get their shot here in the final couple of months of this regular season. Should mention that Oscar Mercado also was traded away. He's a former infielder, great speed, converted to the outfield. Was playing every day at AAA, and the Cardinals traded him to the Cleveland Indians.
Well, I think the Cardinals and the Indians recognized that Mercado had risen quickly in the last year and a half to the point where he's knocking at the door of being a big league center fielder, and The Cardinals already have a couple people they're trying to give a spot to, so the Cardinals, by moving him, get the next generation of potential players, and so it's good for the player and it's good for replenishing the system.
Two balls, two strikes on Cargo, right fielder for the Rockies. A fastball taken low, and so the third 3-2 count. The first 4 hitters of the game for Jack Flaherty. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. His second strikeout of the night. He is not afraid to throw that slider at any time in the count.
Cargo did not look good in that at bat. The breaking ball he swung over the top of there, missed a curveball early in the count that about hit the plate. Just did not look comfortable at all against Flaherty. That's what's tricky about Jack. He's got the curveball and the slider, and he'll get strikes with both of them, and they're different speeds, and judging from hitters' reaction, they can't see it out of the hand very easily, which is which.
Well, baseball, you hear it all the time. Certainly a game of adjustments. Great rookie year for Story at 272. Last year dropped to 239. The power numbers have always been there, but his swing and miss percentage went up. And this year he's made the adjustment back, and he comes in hitting 289 with 20 homers.
A lot of doubles, a lot of triples to go along with that. He's hitting 354 in the last 6 weeks, so I would say he has made some nice adjustments. Good player.
2 strikes. The slugging shortstop of the Rockies. For years the talk was Tulowitzki.
I was just thinking that about how quickly that changes.
And now people talk about Trevor Story
in the same light.
The 1-2 pitch, fastball.
And Tulo was a name that we heard every July 31st for about 4 years too, because people wanted him, but they were concerned about his durability. And that's the thing, when you trade on July 31st, you're trading a person. You're not just trading numbers on a spreadsheet.
The 2-2 is popped up. Molina, foul territory, wants it and has it. 5 up and 5 down to start tonight's contest for Jack Flaherty. Manage your dream team in franchise mode. Plus, get weekly stats, roster updates, and more. RBI Baseball 18. It's available now. Learn more at RBIGame.com. Rated E for everyone. And here's Parra batting 285, 5 home runs, and he's driven in 42. That's up the middle, and a base hit off the mound, and then past Garcia, and the first hit of the night for Colorado. I thought you made a great point in our open, and we talked about it before we went on the air, how American League teams, boy, they were trading away some superstars to the National League.
And you think about it from their point of view, there's only 6 teams really in it in the American League, 11 with a shot in the National League. So teams like Baltimore and the Minnesota Twins are going to kind of become sellers, get rid of their best players, restock their team, and maybe build in a year or 2 and win. And that's their philosophy, but they don't want to give their best players to people in their own division or in their own league. So the National League has been the benefactor.
Parra was off with that pitch. It's fouled back by Ryan McMahon in some of the deadline headlines here. Chris Archer, now a Pirate. We'll see him over the weekend. I believe his turn will be up when the Cardinals are there. Dozier going to the Dodgers. Jonathan Scope now with Milwaukee, and Brad Ziegler goes back to Arizona.
I do think the Pirates gave up a lot, though, by giving up Meadows and Glasnow both. I mean, that's not saying it's not a good deal, but shows how much they wanted another starting pitcher and how much they felt they have a chance of running at that wild card.
Where does Jonathan Scope play? Nick I'm trying to think of the Moustakis and Travis Shaw. I mean, they got
a lot of players, don't they?
Scope is a second baseman,
right,
and the other two are third basemen.
Right.
Arce has been sent down twice, the shortstop for the Brewers that has struggled at the plate. And the 0-2 pitch. Check swing. Did not go. I guess you could roll the dice with Scope at shortstop and Shaw at second, and then Moustakis at third base.
I wouldn't roll those dice. I mean, I feel like he's a second baseman, but we'll see what they do.
You would think with that lineup they can slug with anybody.
Well, you can't make that deal without having a plan. You can't just say, okay, now what do we do? I'm sure they've obviously thought it through.
Scope, by the way, has played a couple of games this year for the Orioles at short, and he did some of that in the minor leagues. I thought if anything they were going to get pitching, starting pitching. Another check on Parra, back in safely. And the 1-2 pitch to McMahon. In on his hands, and it's fouled back. We will have the distinct pleasure of visiting with Larry Walker coming up in the third inning. It's a Budweiser bash for Larry Walker, signing autographs tonight up in the Budweiser Terrace. We were there before the game. So they've taken out 100 seats up there. It's kind of a party destination here at Busch Stadium.
We didn't want to leave, did we?
The way you party, I get it.
They made us come back to the booth, but we thoroughly enjoyed the view from there, and the fans obviously having a great time up there, and the folks that were there to get Larry's signature and on the bobblehead. I know they love visiting with Larry, and we're going to get a chance to do that here shortly.
I actually signed a couple of autographs and ruined some baseballs. Was happy to do that.
Just sign somebody else's name. If you're worried about ruining them.
Parra off with his pitch. Struck him out. May have chased the ball. Third strikeout for Jack Flaherty. We're midway through two. The difference thus far, a home run by Carpenter. It's 1-0 here at Busch. And last night, Jerko got the Cardinals on the board with his solo home run, his 8th of the year. Then in the 7th, there were 4 walks. Carpenter had the big base hit to tie it up. Ozuna would win it. Kia drive to success. His career against the Colorado Rockies. You had a number of those games with the Padres.
You know, that home run last night, Dan, we were talking about it. It didn't get everything for the Cardinals, but it got things going.
And a ground ball hit to Story. And he makes the play. So Larry Walker is not one to tout his Hall of Fame chances, so we'll do it for him. Take a look at this. Players with 2,000 or more hits, 380 home runs or more, 310 average, 100 stolen bases.
Only players that have those kind of numbers that would equal what Larry Walker did in his terrific career. 5-tool player. And we're going to tease people and let them know later.
Here's a Canadian-born player right now, and Tyler O'Neill.
How appropriate.
It's from Larry Walker's hometown. Now, if Larry was telling the truth, he enjoyed baseball, but he'd rather be in hockey's Hall of Fame with Bernie Federko. And Bernie, our colleague, getting set for Blues hockey coming up. Bernie also has a book coming out in about a month or so, written with Jeremy Rutherford. That man can talk. And a swing and a miss. A strikeout for John Gray, his first of the night. So here it is. The players that are in this exclusive, and I mean exclusive, club. Ruth, Gehrig, Guerrero, Larry Walker.
Isn't that amazing? And
it's unbelievable.
The thing that graphic doesn't even contemplate is the defense and the base running of Larry Walker.
Slowly hit right side against the shift. Fowler and the out. It was a short time in St. Louis, about 1.5 years, but boy, was it fun. Larry Walker, one of the great players. Chance to visit with Larry when we come back. St. Louis, great to have you back in town.
Thank you. Great to see you guys.
Always great to see you, Larry.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
What kind of memories come to mind when you think about coming back to town?
Well, obviously I came at a great time in '04 when the team was some 17 games in first place and playoff bound. So doing that and having that series and making it to the World Series was a big thrill. Well, obviously not winning the World Series was a downer, but it was quite a bit of fun just getting that far.
Do you find it amazing how you are received and talked about here in St. Louis? It was, albeit too brief, about 1.5 years, but as you mentioned, it was good clubs. But man, you are a popular guy here with the fan base.
Yeah, I deserve that. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I talked to my kids about it when we walked over today. I said, I only spent 1 year and a few months here, and it feels like it was longer. It was an amazing time, and it started off amazing for me by striking out and getting that standing O, and it was just. I can't tell you how honored it was to put that uniform on.
So you strike out, you get a standing O in your first at bat, and that had to be stunning to you.
Yeah, what a way to welcome a guy.
You said if I hit a home run, I wonder what they would have done.
Well, they might still be standing.
This place is special, though, isn't it?
It is. I've been talking to a bunch of people, and just you look around right now, the sea of red, and when you walk into the ballpark, even my kids were saying today, there's like, oh my gosh, everything is red around here. And I go, yeah, this is Cardinal Nation. This is what it's like. It's like this a lot here. Even when you go on the road, it's a lot there too. So it's everywhere.
You had the chance, if you wanted to turn down the deal to St. Louis. That was in your contract, correct? At that point.
I did. Yeah.
And what sold you on coming here?
Well, I turned down two other possible trades before the St. Louis one came along, and those ones I actually took some time, and I took 2 days on one of them to come up because I had 3 days to make a decision. And coming here for some 14, 15 years as a visitor, it was really a no-brainer. They said you're going to St. Louis, and it didn't take me but a couple minutes to say yes. There was no calling anybody and saying, do you think we should do this? Or it was an easy one.
John Gray is at the plate momentarily. We're going to show that first plate appearance, and tell me about it. Just kind of set it up, how you got here, and it was just right away, right? Tony said, hey, grab a bat and go.
Yeah, I think I got to the ballpark during the game, perhaps, because I didn't come the first night. I didn't come right away. I had some things to take care of, and when I got here, it was I don't think I could start, but I came in the middle of the game, and I think I borrowed some batting gloves. The shoes weren't mine. The bat, I don't think the bat was mine either.
Standing O, you're tipping your cap there. You're pinch hitting, by the way,
yeah,
for Mike Matheny, and it wound up being a strikeout, and you get this huge ovation. You thought, this is unbelievable.
Yeah, I tell you what, a way to welcome a guy and make him feel comfortable right away. That was the ultimate.
Larry, we showed your numbers before you came on the air, and big numbers, obviously, in your career. The home runs, the RBIs, the batting average, and all the tremendous accolades offensively. But I'm not going to embarrass you too much about numbers. I know you don't like to talk about yourself, but your defense in particular, is that something that, were you born to play defense the way you did? Did you work at it? Combination of both? And is that something that maybe you took as much pride in as you did your offense?
Well, I took pride in it all because growing up, when I grew up, I didn't really play baseball. I played 15 games a summer until I was 16 years old. So I didn't play high school ball or anything like that. I was a hockey player. So the hitting stuff, the fielding, the base running, all that stuff was stuff I learned in spring trainings. I went to 5 instructional balls just to try to figure out how to do it. Had some great help from the Ralph Rowe, Tommy Harper, that taught me a lot of things on base running and hitting, and really just absorbed it all, And I also went by watching other players and things they did that were good and things they did that were bad, and learn from other people's mistakes.
I'm going to change the subject. Do you think the Expos or Montreal will get a baseball team?
Well, I tell you, there's no backhand at Tampa for what's going on down there,
yeah.
But I don't see why a franchise can stay there with what's going on down there. It's not good. So
sure.
I think the people of Montreal, they put a ballpark in downtown like we have here, and they'll come out. I think Olympic Stadium can't be used, but they're hungry to get it back there, and why not? They deserve it.
1994 was one of the great teams in recent memory. You were part of that, and then obviously the shutdown of the game. And I think you guys probably win the World Series, and it's maybe a different legacy for that franchise.
Yeah, no doubt. You know, I know I've said it to you before that the Washington Nationals might not be in existence right now if that '94 team isn't broken up, and that season continues, and we win the World Series. There's still baseball in Montreal.
Here's a 2-2 pitch to Charlie Blackmon and a strikeout for Flaherty. It's a pleasure to visit with what we believe should be a future Hall of Famer in Larry Walker. He won't say it, but we will. Back with more in a moment. There are voters that are watching our telecast tonight and truly take a better look at your stats, because I know you're not one that's going to be touting it. It's going to have to be from people like me or Ricky or others in the media. But I'm here to tell you, Larry, you should be in the Hall of Fame.
Well, I know I've heard you say that before, and I'm grateful for that. Thank you very much. And like I say, everybody has their own feelings, and
we'll leave it at that.
That's the way it goes.
Can we add his stats at fantasy camp to those numbers? Maybe
they're not even that good.
Spruce them up a little bit. Your WAR may have gone down a little bit. I'm not sure. I know you've liked being there, though. You know, I know you watch a lot of our broadcasts, but we talk about the fantasy camp quite a bit. Tell us about your experience doing that.
It is. It's great to see the energy and just the love of the game for all these guys. You know, guys that have been coming out there for well over a decade, and the excitement of that, and then to hang with them after, and the events, and UMCing doing a great job, and everything about it is perfect. You know, it's a good event.
Everybody loves you being there.
So Larry in right field a couple years ago, the whole team is screaming. This guy got a base hit, and Larry is barely jogging after the ball. Everybody in the ballpark knows, except the guy that hit it, don't go to second. He's deking you. Don't do it. So then Larry, of course, 2 steps in, little hustle, throws a bullet to second base. But you used to do that at the major league level. I'm curious how you learned the presence of mind to deke base runners. I have not seen anybody better in the outfield do that.
I think today's deking that goes on, you know, there's not a lot of opportunities where it does happen.
Yeah.
First of all, it doesn't present itself a lot. And when you do, you just see a lot of guys just throw their glove up, you know, and kind of look into space. I think the thing I did different was not throw my glove up. I would pretend the ball continued on the arc that it was going to go if it was going to be where it's at, you know. So there was just an imagination that went into it as well that a lot of guys don't do.
Flaherty grounds to short. Tell our fans, too, about a drill that you would do in the batting cage. You would take a fungo and kind of Happy Gilmore ball off the tee and take it up the middle.
I would call it my walk-in drill. So I would take two and a half steps in to over-exaggerate getting your balance, your weight transfer from your back to your front. So I would just completely exaggerate it all. I used the fungo because I wanted to feel that whipping action, just to feel the bat head so light that goes through, and then just try to carry that into what I was doing in the game without really thinking about it.
Anybody teach you that, or is that just you?
Jay Ward was a guy that brought it to me up in Montreal. I did the coach up there, and I loved it, and kind of he did it more with a flip. He'd do it with a flip all the time, move the ball around. Yeah. And so I'd end up doing it by myself a lot on the tee.
So 2 outs and a 1-0 pitch to Carpenter. Does 0-4 still sting for Larry Walker? Coming up short that year?
Yeah, it was a while. Like I said, I think I've talked to you about it before. It was a while before I slept. There wasn't. It was horrible.
Yeah.
It never got there again. So it was a tough one. But like I say, the experience and winning the National League pennant and everything. There's still good that came out of it, and I can't complain.
You want to coach?
I don't think so. I don't know what I would do. Everybody says hitting coach. For me, it's pretty simple. All these guys know how to hit. Just swing at strikes. Go get them. The guys they make their own outs by swinging at balls out of the strike zone. Learn the strike zone, and it becomes a lot easier. 2-2
the count. Did the Cardinals present you with the World Series ring in 06?
06, I got a World Series ring. I was traveling with the team a little bit, and I was in San Diego. Yeah.
How great is that?
Oh, are you kidding me? Cal Eldred and I got one, and that baby that goes on my finger only every now and then.
I bet.
It's a fun thing to have, and just goes to tell you about the organization right there. They're amazing.
Would you rather be a hockey coach?
No, I'd rather be a hockey player.
But that didn't work out, so you had to go to baseball.
Yeah, this is the alternative turned out to be pretty good.
Not bad. Paychecks are pretty good.
Oh, I did it for free.
Oh, did you? That's great. Love of the sport, huh?
Yeah.
Sure. And a swing and a miss. Larry, thank you.
Hey, thank you, guys.
It's awesome.
Come back
great
anytime.
to have you back in town.
Love it when you're here.
Thank you, guys.
That's Larry Walker, one of the all-time greats, and he should be and will be in the Hall of Fame. Fox Sports Go for your favorite supported devices. Desmond Arenado Gonzalez as we check in with Jim Hayes.
Dan, Adam Wainwright has been on the DL since mid-May with right elbow inflammation. Waino has been thrown. In fact, he's set to throw his 4th bullpen tomorrow. He told me he feels good. He said, I've passed every checkpoint so far. I'm going to keep my head down, keep working, and see where it takes us. Dan Waino told me bullpen tomorrow, 1 more after that, and then the plan is for him to go out on a rehab. There's no timetable for return, and Waino is downplaying it, but you really get the sense he really wants to pitch for the Cards at some point this season.
Jimmy, you held up, didn't you, after last night?
you're okay after that big celebration?
Danny, I've had shirts shredded by Nick Punto. I've been screamed at by Tony La Russa. I had Seth Maness profess his love for me on live TV. This is just another day in the life of a regional cable journalist. You know that.
Absolutely. And by the way, you made a very happy fan, apparently, by bringing a Larry Walker baseball to that young fan. And this is from last night, Jim getting doused. You had no idea that was coming, and bam, there it goes.
Apparently it was by design, too.
And you brought a Larry Walker ball to a young fan.
Yeah, Larry told me that some young gentleman down there asked him for an autograph. He didn't have a ball, so he signed a ball, and he asked me if I'd be kind enough to take it down to that young fella. I said, I'm in. Larry Walker asked, I'm going to do it.
There's a pop-up into right, coming on Fowler near the line. And the catch is made. Larry also told us he saw that you were delivering the baseball, and he said, my daughter was giving me so much trouble. Dad, you got to get that kid a ball. So here you go.
He's
from
got
Larry
it.
Walker. Nice work, Jimmy.
Thank you, Danny.
So Ian Desmond, the first out. There's that signature of Larry Walker in the sweet spot of the baseball. There's Arenado, who struck out swinging on a 3-2 pitch. And Ricky, so far so good for Jack Flaherty. Looks sharp.
A lot of strikes. He's in command, and this, as we've mentioned multiple times, is a good lineup. And there's some places where you have to be very careful, and this is one of them with Arenado at the plate. He can hit a mistake, and he can hit a good pitch. He has the best slugging percentage in the National League. So if you're talking power, this guy's at the top.
Flaherty, one of 4 pitchers this season with more than 100 strikeouts, but under 100 innings pitched. Kenta Maeda, Chris Archer, Steven Strasburg, and Jack Flaherty. It was a steep price to pay to get Archer for the Pirates. Glasnow and Austin Meadows. We saw Meadows when he was on a roll. Sweet swing from the left side. Now the 2-1 pitch. And a ground ball. Backhanded by DeYoung. The throw is not in time. And a base hit for Nolan Arenado. The 2018 Cardinals Hall of Fame induction class has been selected. Join the Cardinals and Edward Jones as we honor Harry Brackeen, Vince Coleman, Ray Lankford. The Hall of Fame induction ceremony August 18th at 3. It's at Ballpark Village, open to the public. The Brewers will be in town, so head to Ballpark Village, check out the ceremony, and then get a ticket to the ball game. Cardinals.com/HOF.
Love that ceremony, and also reminded, having Larry Walker here at the ballpark today, just how good a job the Cardinals do, Dan. And not to oversell this, but it's just a fact. And if you're a former player, you just feel it. You feel at home when you come to the ballpark here. And Larry Walker feels like he's with his friends when he's here, and he should feel that way. And we want him to feel that way. And as you mentioned, he was here a year and a half. Yet that was a kind of an indelible year and a half in his life and his career, to the point where this is a place where he can be comfortable. And the Cardinals Hall of Fame is another place to bring Ray Lankford back, players that don't live in the area, Vince Coleman, and just, you know what, you guys were special to us.
It's Joe Pfeiffer, Larry State, Dan Farrell, up to Bill DeWitt. They make sure that the former players feel welcome, have a ticket, have a suite to go to.
Well, it's up, down, and all around. It's the former players that live here in town that have a great connection we do with each other. 75 former players that live in the greater St. Louis area that played for the Cardinals. 75. And so it's that kind of prong of influence, but it's the 42,000 people here at the ballpark too.
Is that the largest alumni base for a team living in the area?
I can't say for sure that it is, but I would bet that it would be in the top 2 or 3. And I know there are places that have a lot more former players, but they weren't necessarily players for that team. Say Phoenix.
Sure.
As a lot of people in Phoenix, but a lot of former players there, but they didn't play for the Diamondbacks necessarily.
I think the Blues at one point, it may be still true today, their alumni base here in St. Louis was either number 1 or number 2. And a lot of the players from the 70s and 80s have stayed in St. Louis. See Whitey at the ballpark all the time. 2-2 the count on Cargo. That's ripped into right field. Arenado lost his helmet. And Cargo stops at first base on an absolute bullet into right. Runners at the corners with 1 down.
Gonzalez did not look good at the plate his first time up, but that was a rocket. And good thing all he lost was his helmet here. There's the ball. The head goes down, almost trips over his helmet. He did not have a lot of time to react. Counting his blessings at the moment.
Be interested to see the miles per hour off that shot from Cargo. It was 108.
Oh, I was going to say 111.
And now Trevor's Story. A gorgeous night here at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. He may have gotten away with that pitch. It's popped up. Molina couldn't find it. Now he does and makes the catch.
Kind of that odd time of the night where the sky is a little bit tough to read. It's not dark enough yet for the lights to take full effect, and Yachty just didn't find it. Almost had a case where we had a pitcher catch a pop-up again. We've had about 3 or 4 of those this year, and you will go 5 years without seeing one. And almost Flaherty's ball because Molina's saying help. Where? Oh, there it is. That's a big out.
And now Parra, who singled to center. Very good with runners in scoring position, a .353 average. And he looks at a ball. A little bit low and outside. Ryan McMahon is at the on deck circle, and you wonder if Parra is going to get a pitch to hit here. 2-0 the count. The 2-0. He does, and yanks it down the right field line, foul. Had him out in front. Looked like Parra was thinking fastball and got the slider. Was way out in front.
And you have to pitch to him. You don't want to get the go ahead run into scoring position, so you just take your chances with Parra. He had a base hit last time, but if you're Jack Flaherty, you got to have confidence that you can get out Parra.
Outfield deep, straight away. And the 2-1 pitch to Gerardo Parra. Jammed him. Hit up the middle. DeYoung gloves, and he'll get out of the jam. May have got a piece of Flaherty. Regardless, though, they get the out. So with runners at first and third, one out, they get Story and then Para. DeYoung and Ozuna. And Rick Horton's Toyota key to the game.
Well, the key to this game, to me, when you look at the production from 1 through 4, and that's Carpenter, Molina, DeYoung, Ozuna, it's been terrific against Gray. 11 for 19 coming into this game. Carpenter led off with a home run in this one, so that's a limited sample size, really. Talking about 20 at-bats for those 4 combined, but hitting nearly 600 against Gray between the 4 of them. And I think that's been a big part of the mini surge the Cardinals have right now, is the solid nature of 1 through 4 in the lineup, and Yadi's, I think, a big key of that.
The pitch up in the zone, driven out to left center. Blackman back and makes the catch on the track. You could see him take a peek. Where was Para? Nowhere to be found, so then Blackman had to make the catch.
I'm not sure Para saw that ball very well. Gray's having, Dan, one of his better starts of 2018, but things can unravel for him quickly, too. Throws hard. 94, 95 is his average fastball. Slider, the curve, the changeup, which he does not use very often. Doesn't really throw a high percentage of curveballs for strikes, so you can almost spit on that pitch, too. Look dead red for him.
Did a very simple delivery towards the plate,
yes,
too. And the 0-2, DeYoung pops it up. Foul territory. Ian Desmond with the catch. There's 2 away. A reminder that Cardinals baseball is brought to you by the Siteman Cancer Center, national leaders in cancer close to home, and by Toyota. Let's go places. With Jim Hayes and Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Marcell Ozuna, the batter. And she is not going to go to sleep anytime soon. Ground ball hit sharply to Arenado. Wham! Throws it over across the diamond, and the Cardinals go in order. We head to inning number 5, and it's 1-0. in St. Louis. McMahon, Murphy, and Gray, 7, 8, and 9 for the Rockies. And the first pitch by Flaherty taken for a ball. Pitched out of trouble last inning. With one out, runners at first and third. He got Story to pop out. And then Parra the ground out.
And not much breathing room for Jack Flaherty. The way Gray is pitching, 12 straight Cardinals retired after the Carpenter home run. This is a well-pitched game so far.
The difference in this game, a Matt Carpenter home run. 22nd time he's had a leadoff homer, which is a new franchise record. That's hit out of play.
You know, I thought Michael Gersh did a great job explaining with Jim Hayes. It was a terrific interview by Jim prior to our game where they were talking about why the Cardinals made the moves they made today, yesterday, and really what the stance was to open up space for young talent to play. And you know what happens when Wainwright gets hurt and others get hurt and Waka gets hurt? It opens up a Jack Flaherty to get a shot in a rotation, and all of a sudden he's one of your best players. And so you have to, if you think a guy's got a chance to be a special big leaguer, you've got to give him that space and that opportunity. I'm sure, Dan, there'll be Cardinal fans that will say we didn't get the All-Star, we didn't get Dozier, we didn't get Archer, we didn't get the big splash. And I think the timing of where the Cardinals are right now, I think the first step is to give a guy like Tyler O'Neill a shot and just see what you've got. And if it doesn't pan out, then you go to the next step. But if it does and he's a middle of the lineup hitter, then why go look for a middle of the lineup hitter somewhere else when you've got one?
And still with the Cardinals, Bud Norris. His name was rumored with many teams in the reliever market. And Jose Martinez. So both still here. The 2-2 pitch. Just got a piece. Jose Martinez on the bench. I know some fans will say, well, like you mentioned, they don't go out and get that big name, but boy, they've done a lot of retooling in terms of their bullpen. Wow.
Yes.
The 2-2.
But
We'll see if it works.
But some of that retooling, Dan, is along the same lines. It's Dakota Hudson, Daniel Ponce de Leon. We saw them in a game that, you know, yeah, I mean, you want to win them all at this point, but you know, first game of a series, and those two guys are guys that are out there with the game on the line, and you win. And they're guys that were pitching in AAA just a few weeks ago.
Tyler Webb, Jason Shreve, Austin Gomber from the left side. Norris, Hudson, Hicks, Myers, Brebbia, and Ponce de Leon from the right side. It's a good battle right now with McMahon and Flaherty.
Say revamp the bullpen. I mean, I honestly think, and it's not to be harsh to the guys who were here, it just wasn't working. I mean, it's an overhaul, Dan. I mean, it really needed overhauling, and not the full bullpen, because you've got Jordan Hicks and Bud Norris who've been so good 8 and 9, but you've got to have 7 or 8 guys pitching well for a bullpen to really work over a long period of time.
And the Cardinals, one of their big issues was just getting to the 8th or the 9th. That was really the issue. And you'll have a hiccup here or there and a blown save, but that was primarily the big issue.
But if you can get your position players thinking, give me a lead till the 6th, and then we'll take care of it from there, it changes the way a game is played.
Terrific at bat by Ryan McMahon, and a leadoff walk. Join us for Cardinals Hall of Fame weekend, August 17th through the 19th, presented by Edward Jones. Getting dizzy from trying to name all the Cardinals in the Hall of Fame? Well, we can help you out. August 19th, 30,000 fans, 16 and older. Take home a one-of-a-kind Dizzy Dean watch, courtesy of AT&T. August 19th, the Cards and Brewers. Here's Tom Murphy. The pitch up. Short lead at first by McMahon. And the 1-0 pitch. In the air out to left. Ozuna came in, now backing up a step or two and makes the catch. You can see that the players right now really are battling this time of night trying to find the baseball. I'm not sure Marcel saw that initially off the bat.
Communication becomes very important. If the ball's not hit to you and you see it, you may still have a job. Point it out, move towards it. If you're an infielder, move towards it so you have a little bit of a cue to the outfielder which direction to go.
Here's the pitcher. Gray squares to bunt and strike one. Something the Cardinals have talked about with Jack Flaherty, trying to be a little bit more efficient in the at bat. Third highest in Major League Baseball pitches per batter, nearly 5. And tonight he's had 86 pitches. That was a 12 pitch at bat to McMahon. And it's 1 ball and 1 strike. A lot of moving parts here on the infield.
Well, bunt plays are really works of art if you do them right, and they can be disasters if you don't. Carpenter has the job of holding the runner on first base first, and then he's going to charge. You can't go too soon. He's got the first base line. Jerko's taking away the third. Flaherty's going to move in, and occasionally you get a call from the bench to throw over just to see if the bunt may still be on or not. Gray is not an accomplished hitter, so my guess is he is bunting, and they'll stay with it. The goal obviously is to get the runner at second base if you can.
Pushed it foul, and there's 2 strikes.
And I'm guessing it'll do it again.
I'm sure there are fans that say, I cannot believe when a pitcher doesn't get a bunt down. All you're doing is bunting. Well, it's a little tougher than that.
I 100% agree with that. You've heard me say that many times. My stance is bunting's a lot harder than it looks.
And a strikeout of Gray. That's 6 tonight. Big happy birthday to Gene Bonds and also Tara Wellman. They never miss a game. Big Cardinal fans, Gene Bonds and Tara Wellman. Also Mark Grifford. Happy birthday, Mark.
Got the bow from him. So Dan, I have a task for you on the Dizzy Dean watch giveaway night.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I expect you to be wearing that watch.
I will.
During the broadcast.
Of course.
And I want to hear at least 3 Dizzy Dean sayings from you as you do play-by-play.
Will I keep my job?
Well, pick the right ones. I mean, there's tons of them, tons of Dizzy Dean quotes of things that he said that were funny and off the wall, and in honor of Dizzy Dean, and we don't talk about Dizzy enough, I would say. So maybe you can reintroduce him to some younger Cardinal fans by spinning some of his words of wisdom from another era.
We'll do it. There's a great picture in our hallway coming into the booth of when Dizzy was broadcasting, and just a big smile on it. I mean, he just looks like a fun guy.
If you're not having fun in the baseball world, it is a long, long year.
And even when a team is losing, it's still big league baseball. You come to the ballpark and you're watching the best in the world do what they do, and it's a wonderful game. It's fun. And the 1-2 is drilled out to right center at the wall, and it's gone. It got out of here in a hurry, and a home run for Charlie Blackmon. Well, he walloped that.
Well, it got out in a hurry and the game changed in a hurry. 2-1 Colorado lead. Blackman extends his hitting streak to 13 games. Where's the pitch? Center cut for the most part, away a little bit, but Blackman barreled it up. Really a no-doubter.
Ian Desmond is 0 for 2, grounded out to short, flied out to right.
One thing about Flaherty this year, and it's not a major issue, but he has given up a lot of home runs.
Yeah.
And I think it's, as we've mentioned, because he's around the plate. The good news is a lot of them have been solo home runs.
And a strike. 1-2 on Ian Desmond. I think it's a byproduct of a lot of sliders that sometimes, you know, don't have that bite.
Yeah, and he's not just really a flamethrower in terms of 95 plus. He's around the plate, and sometimes you miss.
The 2-run homer with 2 outs by Blackman. Rockies on top 2-1. As Ricky mentioned, it extended his hitting streak to 13. And you can't argue with the splits with Blackman because it's now 13 home runs on the road of his 21. That's the other thing about Larry Walker, and we talked about it before, but you can't penalize a player for playing at Coors Field. You play where you play and you put up the numbers. Are you in agreement with that?
Yeah, there's some other new ballparks where you might be saying the same thing about it. I mean, it's not really an anomaly anymore. And you could say the same thing about Wrigley Field first in a certain decade when the wind was blowing out more and the configuration of the scoreboard was different. You saw a lot of balls fly out of there.
And a fly ball into right. Gonzalez under it, makes the catch. Celebrate the 5th class of Cardinals Hall of Fame inductees during the Hall of Fame weekend, August 17th through the 19th, presented by Edward Jones. And we have a mystery cap giveaway. You might get Ray Langford. You could get Vince Coleman. It's courtesy of Edward Jones. Tickets at cardinals.com/promotions. There's Tyler O'Neill. think the balancing act to an extent for Mike Schilt is that you don't want Tyler O'Neill or Harrison Bader looking over their shoulder and saying, well, I've got to have 3 hits tonight to stay in the lineup tomorrow. But that's part of it. Ooh. Fouled back 1-2.
Yeah, you don't want that, but maybe you do. And maybe not 3 hits. I mean, but yeah, I mean it's and they're not competing against each other. I don't believe that. I don't think that's the way they should look at it or the way they do look at it. I think they're trying to compete to say, look, I want to hit the play.
Slow roller. Arenado, the bare hand, and not in time. The base hit for Tyler O'Neill that snaps a string of 13 in a row set down by John Gray after the home run hit by Carpenter to start the day.
O'Neill gets out of the box terrifically from the right side, head down. He's a big man too. He's not a tall guy. When you're around him you think, well, that's just not really that tall, but I would not want to arm wrestle Tyler O'Neill.
No, you'd lose.
Yeah, I think so.
And a ball to Dexter Fowler. Grounded out to second. His first time up. And the 1-0 pitch.
Pitch count really low for Gray and surprisingly high for Flaherty. The number at 98, I believe he's out after 5 innings. Shreve, I believe, getting loose.
And it is Shreve. Two balls, 1 strike on Dexter Fowler. 2-2. The 2-2 pitch outside. See if the Cardinals want to start the runner here on 3-2.
If the Cardinals don't get to Jack Flaherty, and I don't think they will start him, although Mike Schilt has really pushed the envelope as far as running.
He is running, and pitch is taken for a ball. He may have been hit by the pitch. Regardless, it's runners at first and second.
So before Fowler reached by a walk, the possibility would be that Flaherty's position wouldn't come up this inning. And I'm wondering if Mike Schilt is thinking about sending him out for Arenado either way. And I think now it's a moot point, because unless Garcia hits into a double play, we will have a pinch hitter. But with Shreve getting loose, the first batter he's going to face is Arenado. That's a bit of a challenge,
I'd say. Good point. There's Greg Garcia, lined out his first time up and takes strike 1. The 0-1 pitch. Ground ball, backhanded by Desmond to get the out there, and safe at first. He's off the bag. Ray pointing to the dugout as if to say, I was on it. This could be a big call here.
Well, he's adamant about it. He believes, he's pointing to the Rockies dugout saying, I'm telling you, I touched it.
And the Rockies will challenge the call.
Gray says he touched it, and he did. It'll be inning over, and the question again stands, does Flaherty come out for Arenado?
Showing the replay here, the video board at the ballpark, and with that, the Rockies just start walking off the field. The Cardinals do as well. And that's a nifty double play. Joe West telling the Rockies, you have to stay on the field until we get official word from New York. But when that happens, come on in.
The only one that has given up hope is Jose Oquendo. He's still out there. Now you can go.
So it goes 3-6-1 on the double play. Takes the equation, or part of the equation, out, which was Jose Martinez pinch hitting for Flaherty.
And again, facing Arenado, I think it makes sense to give Flaherty one more shot at him. He did strike him out, gave up a base hit second time he faced the Rockies' third baseman, but really want to try to neutralize him with your starter the best way you know how.
And one pitch, should be one out. Ozuna in to make the catch. Well, that helps. Arenado is 1 for 3 with an infield hit. And with one out, it brings in Carlos Gonzalez. Single to right and struck out on a 3-2 pitch.
And getting him out, especially with one pitch, earns him another batter.
You bet. So rope off the bat of Gonzalez back in the 4th inning. 1 for 2 on the night. Trevor Story at the on deck circle, so you get 3, 4, and 5 in the lineup of the Rockies. Show the spray chart for Cargo StatCast, powered by AWS. It seems like these young pitchers now, Ricky, are just conditioned to the fact that there's going to be shifts behind them.
Yes.
It's happening now in the minor leagues more and more. You know, we always say there's reasons behind it. We can show you the data, but yet still, if that little ground ball right to short with your shortstop over at second gets through, that would drive me crazy.
Well, the game evolves. It doesn't fully change. I mean, the game has changed over time, yes, but it's like an evolution, and I think it needs to be. You need to kind of try new things that work, and the game's not what it was in 1920 or 1940 or 1960, and it's going to continue to evolve going forward.
It's a 1-out walk, and now Mike Maddox a visit. The Phillips 66 ticket vouchers are back, and they are better than ever. Fill up at Phillips 66 with 8 gallons or more, and you can get a voucher for up to 50% off on up to 8 tickets to a Cardinals home game. For more information, visit cardinals.com/Phillips66.
To your point, Danny, I was surprised at a letter that I received a week or so ago from Tony Clark, who's the head of the Players Association, was a player, longtime big league player. Now he runs the Players Union, and he wrote a letter to all current players and past players talking about the state of baseball. And I was surprised to hear the high percentage of players that want to protect this integrity of the game. And,
really?
they're not all happy about shifts, and they're not happy about the 3 outcome game. They don't want baseball to be that. They didn't grow up thinking baseball was that. And for an older player to say that, that's one thing, but for current players, I was a bit surprised by that.
Me too. That's driven out to left. Ozuna back and can't come up with it. It's off the wall. Gonzalez being waved in. He will score, and it's a 2-run Rockies lead here in the top of the 6th. Trevor Story with that line shot, and that's going to be it for Jack Flaherty.
Middle in, good effort by Ozuna. Cargo read it well. Right off the bat, he didn't think Ozuna would make that play, and he scored.
And we'll have a double switch. Jairo Munoz comes in at second base, and that'll be it for Jack Flaherty. Shreve, the lefty, had been throwing and is hot and ready. So Shreve will come in, and he'll face Parham, and then another lefty, McMahon, coming up. Made in any form, And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. With Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Jim Hayes with us as well. It's now a 3-1 Rockies lead. Shreve part of the double switch. His numbers with the Yankees.
High strikeout to innings pitched ratio. That's really been a story for him. And he got edged out of a left side of a bullpen that now has Aroldis Chapman and Zach Britton.
It's two pretty good lefties. Flaherty 105 pitches, 63 strikes, struck out 7, walked 2 in 5 1/3. So look at the defense, and it's reset with Munoz in and Shreve pitching. Presented by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. Outfield is straight away. Interesting, Ricky, when you watch Shreve, basically that number 40 on the back is facing the hitter. He's really closed off.
He is. I think the other thing that really stands out when you look at him is he's just not a big guy. I mean, you think about players throwing low to mid 90s now in baseball, and you think of a lot of kind of barrel chested bicep guys, and he's just a guy that's blessed with a wiry arm, and he can rush it up there.
Cardinals had issues with Tyler Lyons. He was designated for assignment. Greg Holland, same. And the 1-2 in on his hands. A little floater that's fair. It drops in. A little jam shot. And Parham to second base, and a run scores to make it 4-1 Colorado. Back-to-back doubles.
Well, baseball happens. The jam shot perfectly placed inside corner and just flares it into left field and just barely fair.
Now Ryan McMahon, pitch taken high. And officially will close the book on Flaherty. Cardinals trailing 4-1. Hearing all the time, but a change of scenery, and in this case a change of leagues, may be beneficial to both Shreve and the Cardinals. But you do get an idea final couple of months what you have. And the 1-1.
As the book is closed on Flaherty, you mentioned 4 runs in 5 1/3 innings, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. This is a start that we've seen from Flaherty before. This is kind of his bad start, which you'd say is not horrible. I mean, he gives his team a chance. He's close, but just can't quite get deep enough into the game and can't keep enough runs off the board. But not a terrible start, but not as good as his bright ones are.
You know, one of the best at bats in this game against Flaherty was McMahon when he walked in the 5th.
Yeah.
That was a 12 pitch at bat. He had about 5 or 6 foul balls and eventually earned a walk and came around to score on the 2-run homer by Blackman. And the count runs full to 3-2.
I think you would hear from the Rockies clubhouse after the game that set a tone. That at bat that you're talking about was the key at bat for them offensively.
And a 3-2 pitch. He walked him. So double and a walk allowed by Shreve. Our Budweiser What's on Tap, Luke Weaver. It's Kyle Freeland. We're on the air tomorrow night at 6:30 with the pregame show. On the flip side of this game, the Cardinals have not been able to figure out John Gray. He's allowed just 2 hits. One of those a home run hit by Carpenter, and that has been it offensively for the Cardinals tonight. It's really been all or nothing this season for Gray. 7 starts. He's given up 5 or more. 7 starts, 1 earned or less. So not a lot in between. 1 ball and 1 strike. And I'm out in front, and it's 1-2. John Brebbia, the right-hander, throwing for St. Louis. It's front row seat to watching guys warm up. You get an idea of the speed of the game.
That's right.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. Struck him out. And clearly, Tom not real happy with that at bat.
I think I heard him say that pitch was high.
That might have been it, or something else. There's John Gray with 2 outs and 2 on. And ball 1. You know, part of this final couple months for the Cardinals is just seeing what you have. Shreve, Webb, some of the others. Tyler O'Neill.
And the frustrating thing about that, Dan, is you don't want to give up an exploration or go to an exploration only status when you think about the fact that you're 4 games out in the wild card, which I'm not, again, being Pollyanna about that and thinking that that would be any kind of an easy thing for the Cardinals to do, but it's not impossible. I mean, the Cardinals were more than 4 games back of the wild card beginning September, and we haven't even started August yet, so certainly it's possible. But if you just are worried about just kind of seeing what you have only, then the mindset becomes we're talking about 2019 and 2020, and I don't think this team's ready to start thinking that yet.
Back-to-back strikeouts and a 4-1 Rockies lead. by T-Mobile. And the story tonight, one of them has been John Gray after that leadoff home run hit by Matt Carpenter. At one point, he set down 13 in a row. He's been tough. I can't believe that Ricky is not dancing up here in the booth. Did you hear the music between innings?
I did.
You want to tell who?
Little Nelly.
Little Nelly.
And
Okay.
I was not. Nope. Oh, speaking of Nelly, I'll be right back, Dan.
You guys are tight because he came up to the booth.
Well, tight may be an overstatement. Let's just say we've met, and I had the honor of interviewing him during a broadcast.
What'd you two talk about?
Baseball, music, St. Louis.
Uh-huh.
It was a thrill. I'm sure much more for me than it was for him.
You were seriously excited.
I was kind of, yeah, I was kind of geeked up a little bit.
Did you get a picture?
Of course I have a picture.
Autograph?
I did not ask him for an autograph. Wanted to be professional.
So you get asked for the picture.
No, just free tickets.
Strikeout of Munoz, and one of the bright spots for the Cardinals, this home run hit by Matt Carpenter. 22nd leadoff home run hit by Carp, and that's now a franchise record. And now we turn to the Kubota power stats. Talked about this earlier. Big Mac a couple of times, Jimmy Ballgame in 2004, and Matt Carpenter 10 or more home runs hit in the month of July. Even Matt said, I can't imagine any fan thinking I was going to get out of this funk that I was in, or at least get it to the level that I'm at right now. Count me in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think anyone doubted that he would have a better second half, and that
Sure.
was not the guy he was. And that's, but I mean, it's just ridiculous what he's done since then. It's almost like overnight, he found his timing and his stroke. And it hasn't been a couple of games, a couple of days, a series, a week even.
Lines out.
But that's what it's been, line drive after line drive.
And the batter is Molina with 2 outs. Sometimes you state that I do not tell the truth about you during games. A true statement, though, is that we can find you dancing when Nelly is being played. And that's a fact. What a play here on a fair ball in right field, and the catch made by Carlos Gonzalez. Outstanding play in right. What a catch. More on that. Let's check in with Jim.
Here are Phillips 66. What's in the tank? The trade winds were swirling around Bud Norris for a couple of weeks leading up to the trade deadline, but Bud remains a Cardinal. He couldn't be happier about that. He told me it was tough because my name was out there. I'm thrilled to still be here. I'm happy. My family is happy. And I love the guys in the clubhouse. He also said, you know, we're still in this thing. We want to see if we can make this a magical season. And Dan, Bud told me he would love to see something worked out that could keep him a Cardinal for the rest of his career. He's happy to still be here in St. Louis, Dan.
Yeah, it's interesting. This is a place that he's talked about he always wanted to play. When Carpenter called time down at first, he's adjusting his equipment. Now he said he's all right. You know, that's the other thing. You don't trade him off, and now you start talking about guys that are potential free agents and whether or not you want to bring them back. It's the other side of this.
I think having him around has been really good for Jordan Hicks and his development. Not to be all the way in as the guy right away, even though he has the stuff to be the guy in the future. If you just kind of hand that to him, I think he misses some lessons along the way. And of course, there's been a lot of talk about their relationship, which Jordan is thankful for, that you have somebody that's kind of been there, done that, and can, you know, kind of deal with the good and the bad, because if you're a reliever, you're going to have good and bad. And when you're young, it's just sometimes tougher to find the right spot to put that emotionally. And so having Bud Norris around longer to help with some of the young pitchers out there, not just Jordan Hicks, I think it'd be terrific. I think he's delightful to be around.
The 2-1 pitch to Charlie Blackmon, who had a 2-run homer back in the 5th inning. I'm sure you had some guys that were especially tough, or maybe guiding you in a direction that, you know, kind of tough love along the way.
Yeah, Bob Forsch was that guy. Bruce Sutter was that guy in a lot of ways. And, you know, Bob Forsch probably more so because Bruce was not here as long. He left towards the end of his career, and we missed him, frankly, not just his ability, but his mentorship. So Bob took that whole mantle on himself, really, and was good at it.
That's popped up on the infield. Catch made by DeYoung for the first out. Pride Night returns to Busch Stadium, and that's Friday, August 17th. Purchase of a special theme ticket, you'll receive a Cardinals t-shirt with a rainbow STL logo. Pride Night tickets at cardinals.com/theme. John Brebbia coming on out of the Cardinals pen in relief of Shreve in a 4-1 game here in the top of the 7th. John Brebbia, 4-1 our score. We're in the top of the 7th with 1 out.
Well, Brebbio's been up and down quite a bit this year, but the numbers have really settled pretty well for him. 3.72 ERA, and been particularly good against right-handers. 227 average. The slider really dictating that, and I think really, to me, I was frustrated that he was up and down. I would have liked to seen both he and Mike Myers here for a longer extended period of time. I don't think they really deserved the demotion. It was just the reality of where they were in terms of their options. And that's how this team was set up, that there were players that had options and could go up and down, and Brebbia just happened to be one of those guys.
Some tremendous pictures you're showing me of you and Nelly. One and two, the count on Desmond. I didn't know that Nelly had asked you at some point to join the St. Lunatics.
Yeah.
You respectfully declined?
I was busy enjoying doing games with you, and felt like, as much as I love his music and, just being back on the road again, I thought baseball was enough.
Uh-huh. Three and two. I think you'd fit right in on that tour with Nelly.
I must say, when Nelly and Chuck Berry played at the All-Star game that was here in St. Louis, Dan, that was one of the best things I've ever seen in my life. It was so much fun for the fans that were here, the All-Star game, and showing off Busch Stadium, #1, but to have both he and Chuck Berry as representatives of St. Louis music and the fans that were here from all over the country, was just a blast.
Chuck Berry told me he would not go on stage until the Cardinal game was done, and he would watch us all the time. That floored me. I said, I know who you are. Wait, you know me? Wait a minute.
Danny, be good.
Yeah, Jim Hayes has got the crowd going with the wave.
Well, it's getting late early in this game, and you just cannot give up any more.
Seen 4 walks in the last 3 innings. Looked like Desmond wanted to run. He's got 12 stolen bases this year. He slipped and then stopped. Brebbia, for whatever reason, has been much better at home, at 2.49 ERA, on the road close to 6.
Same score here tonight at the same point in the game. 4-1 Cardinal deficit, and they came back, so crowd has something to wave about and stay for. You never know, Danny.
And the 1-1 pitch, instead a check on Desmond. Cardinals' next road trip will begin in Pittsburgh on Friday night. Then down to Miami, off day, and finish up with Kansas City. And the 1-1 pitch. Carlos Martinez expected to miss 2 to 3 starts, maybe even 4. While on the DL, there's Carlos. Austin Gomber or Daniel Ponce de Leon expected to fill in those starts. Well, that's sweet.
Touching, really.
He waves at it. And Arenado is a strikeout for Brebbia. Chevy Fox tracks.
That's the slider, very tough, right on right. Couldn't lay off it.
And with 2 outs, the batter is Carlos Gonzalez, walked and scored back in the 6th. Cardinals jumped out to a 1-0 lead if you just joined us. The Rockies picked up a pair in the 5th and 2 more in the 6th. They lead 4-1. And the first pitch by Brebbia to Carlos Gonzalez. And Brebbia gets the count, 2 balls and no strikes. So big news of the day from the Cardinals' perspective, the trade of Tommy Pham. And one thing I'll always appreciate from Tommy was hustle.
Absolutely.
He cared. He played hard. 12 years in the Cardinals organization. He doesn't know anything different.
Well, that was really a neat statement that Cardinal general manager Michael Gersh made, where he said, I'm going to have to go home and tell my son, whose name is Tommy and who loves Tommy Pham because of the way he plays, that he's not a Cardinal. And you know, I know that a lot of fans do feel that you love your player and you hate to see him go, and he certainly embodied how a player ought to work on a daily basis to get better. Tommy Pham was a terrific worker.
He was very close to Mike Schilt too. Those two were together a number of seasons in the minor leagues, both dealing with the same eye condition, ironically. And Mike would talk about how it just was amazing to him to be even able to play the game of baseball, much less Major League Baseball. That's hit down the right field line, and that ball is fair. It's a home run. A line shot off the bat of Carlos Gonzalez and a 2-run homer. Number 13 this year and his 2nd hit of the night. Boy, did that get out of here in a hurry.
Yeah, and that's a backbreaker here tonight, because the 5-run lead, tougher hill to climb, but Gonzalez just finds a way to keep this ball fair. Slider down and in. He jumped on it. He knew he had enough of it, but would it hook foul? Almost.
114 miles per hour off the bat. And a 6-1 Rockies lead. A ball and a strike on Trevor Story. Breaks his bat, hit into shallow left. DeYoung going out and can't come up with it. Ozuna got a very late break on it, and it drops in for a base hit.
Well, the sky's not the same as what we saw earlier. Maybe it's the fact it was a broken bat that confused Ozuna, but that's a long way to go for the shortstop, and Marcel just never really picked that ball up, didn't have a good line on it, and he's been fast to the ball lately, and that's not in that category.
Well, tough one for the Mets tonight as they're trailing 25-4. 25-4.
25 runs on 26 hits for the Nationals.
Catch made there by Ozuna. Let's stretch. Cardinals now trail by 5. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest. All right, Scotty, thank you. Gateway Honda home run inning. Cardinals hit a home run. The Gateway Honda dealers donate $1,000 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation of Missouri.
You mentioned the Nationals Mets game. Apparently Jose Reyes gave up 6 runs, and he wasn't the only one. What Matz, the starter, and the second reliever, or first reliever out of the pen, did wasn't much better.
And a strikeout of Paul DeYoung.
What a disastrous year for the Mets.
Man, after the start that they had too. First 20, 25, 30 games, they were the talk of the National League with that great pitching that they have in terms of their starters with DeGrom and Syndergaard, Wheeler. Crowd tonight 42,636. 4-2-6-3-6. 44-60. The Mets. Braves hanging around. Phillies lead it by a game. That Nationals game with the Mets, they led 19-0 at one point. Washington went 12 for 20 with runners in scoring position. First National League team to score 25 or more runs since 1995. Cubs beat the Rockies 26-7. A high fly ball into right, and the catch will be made.
If you'd have told me in spring training there will be 2 teams in the National League East that will be buyers on July 31st towards the trading deadline, The two that I would have picked would not have been the Atlanta Braves or the Philadelphia Phillies.
Nationals.
Nationals and Mets. Yep.
I think this offseason with Bryce Harper and Machado, but in particular Harper, the market for him will be fascinating. The talk of $400 million. And yet at one point, what, 2-3 weeks ago, he's batting .215. A ball and a strike on Jed Jerko. 1-2 the count. By the way, that was the worst loss in Mets history. They're on pace to win 69 games. And the 2-2 put in play. It is a foul ball. Still even fun to watch Arenado. The foul ball.
Well, he can't be the umpire. He just has to keep playing it and let them make the call. But just in case.
And a ground ball. Story with time and makes the play. Well, John Gray has allowed just 2 hits. It's all Rockies here in game number 2. MLB moments happen. Budweiser will be there. And by Ford going further, so you can. Busch Stadium in St. Louis. Most runs scored by the Cardinals. It's July 29th, 1929. Cardinals scored 28. The Phillies starter that day was Claude Willoughby. And that's no relation to the famous statistician Willoughby's here in St. Louis. Wonderful family that's been churning out stats and considered one of the tops in that category for years.
I'd like to see the box score of that game from 1929. Was that not during the dead ball era? Or was maybe that after the dead ball era?
1929.
towards the end of it, maybe.
Yeah, towards the end.
But there were not a lot of guys in the 20s hitting a lot of home runs either. So is that hits? Is it walks? Is it errors?
And a grounder back to Webb. He'll step and throw for the out. The Passmore family reunion is here as they travel around the country and follow their Redbirds. One out, and here's Murphy. You struck out twice. Last time he struck out, he made sure everybody in the stadium knew about it.
And many of our viewers.
That's right. And the 2-0 pitch hit out of play. Cardinals with 2 hits tonight. One the home run, the other an infield hit by Tyler O'Neill. And that's been it.
By the way, what he said you're not supposed to say when you're done with yoga. Doesn't fit.
How many people contacted you at the various poses? Yoga.
A few on Twitter were surprised that I have taken some yoga classes. And you're invited.
I'm good. The 2-2. What do you think about our visit to the Budweiser Terrace tonight?
Oh my, was that fun. I could hang out there for a long time and have fun. I know it's a popular area. A lot of young people are going up there. The kind of the great deal they can get for the $5 beer up until game time, but it's just a really festive area, and it's open. There's music, and there's a place where you can go up on the top of the terrace, which you and I went up to, and you can look back and listen to the music that's going on behind you and the entertainment that they have up there on a regular basis, and look the other direction and see batting practice, see the field, and it's a beautiful view. It's a high view, but it's really fun.
Popped up. Molina will throw the mask. He wants it. Out number 2. They have a Budweiser pass for $29 a month. That'll get you into any game.
Well, and anybody that has a ticket can get into that Budweiser Terrace. If you have a ticket to the game, go there. It's not you don't have to have a special ticket to get up there. Just try it. Go see it. And people are, I think, pleasantly surprised at how much fun it is. And you want to figure out how to get there. Just take the escalators up towards right field. Just keep going.
It took out 1,000 seats. I think that is what we're going to start seeing more and more, whether it's at this ballpark or other ballparks going up, to get the younger people to come to games.
Cutting edge. I think it is. It's progressive.
And you may see it even lower in certain areas. Good inning by Webb. And coming up, Tyler O'Neill. It's 6-1 midway through 8. WJC Healthcare difference maker, John Gray, this ball game tonight. And also Tyler O'Neill making a difference down in the minor leagues with his 26 home runs.
Well, he's part of the reason the Cardinals made the deal they made today with Tommy Pham. Give him space to grow and shine and give him the opportunity. And he's going to get it.
So the dead ball era ended in 1919. Commonly defined from 1901 through 1919, the dead ball era.
And I do have the box score sent to me by Tim Trokey, one of our outstanding producers. And the Cardinals did score 10 runs in the first inning of that game and 10 runs in the fifth. In that game in 1929, when the Cardinals scored the most runs they've ever scored. And their starting pitcher threw a complete game, Dan.
There's a base hit for O'Neill, 2-hit night.
He went the full 9 and gave up 17 hits and won.
I wouldn't have expected anything different.
Different time. Oh boy. This ball's hit right on the nose, and you know, not every ball has to be elevated to have a positive result and outcome.
I like the fact that you had that many runs scored and it took 2 hours and 28 minutes. Some pretty big names in that ball game too.
Jim Bottomley.
Yeah. Mike Myers up in the Cardinals pen. Here's Dexter Fowler. Two balls and no strikes. Pitch count is at 84, so Gray has been extremely efficient.
You can still have fun at the ballpark even when you're trailing 6-1, Danny.
Got some cotton candy in him. 3-0.
The Rockies walked the Cardinals back into the game here last night. Don't expect Gray to do that, but we'll take a walk here.
And you got it. And now Jose Martinez, nobody up and throwing, at least at the moment. That'll probably change now. With a single and a walk, and here's Jose Martinez. I'm in the camp that wanted to see Jose Martinez stay here. And I know there's a lot of talk about what he doesn't do well. And that's getting loose, which is fielding. I mean, he struggles defensively. There's no other way to put it. Not from a lack of effort, just it's not his forte. But when you have a guy that's a career .450 pinch hitter and still among your team leaders with limited time now in a lot of the offensive categories, he's still a weapon. I mean, the man can flat out hit. And I'm not so sure you just give that away.
Well, don't give it away. No question about that. And he's certainly valuable. But is he going to be happy playing that way?
Here's a 1-0. He still leads the Cardinals in average and runs batted in. I don't know. You know, you could sell it by saying you're going to get a couple of starts a week. You'll pinch hit every night. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
But that's a downgrade from being your everyday player, which
Sure.
is what he was.
Guys want to play. They want to put up numbers. They want to get paid. They want to win. When you think about his long road to this level too.
By the way, they're all related. All those things
Yeah.
you just said.
And a strikeout of Martinez. So Gray gets the strikeout. 5th of the night. And that's the first out. Now I could see his agent maybe having a different conversation and thought about it. Here's Jairo Munoz. Part of a double switch back in the 6th inning. And he taps it foul.
Gray barely looks winded to me looking at him. Looks like he's just like he could throw another 10 innings. Now, he may not feel that way, but he looks that way.
And the 0-1. Munoz, a base hit into left. O'Neill will be held at 3rd. And the base is loaded now for the Cardinals. And Matt Carpenter can make this interesting.
Good at bat for Munoz. He's had plenty of those this year.
The 7 1/3 ties John Gray's season high for innings pitched. They're going to go to the bullpen. Under the watchful eye of Eugene Koo, Sung Hwan Oh will come into the ball game, and he'll face his former teammate with the bases loaded, Matt Carpenter. Out of your hands. You pitched well, and now you turn it over to the bullpen. There's the line on John Gray, 7 1/3, 4 hits, a run. It was earned, and it's up to the bullpen to get the final 5 outs for Colorado. But it's interesting with the bases loaded and one of the hottest hitters on the planet now coming up at Carpenter.
two lefties in the bullpen for Colorado, but it is his former teammate, that will face him. And as you said, anxious moments are over in some ways for Gray, but he's seen the bullpen destruct a few times this year. They've been a lot better lately, but here's a great opportunity for the Cardinals to get back in this game.
The numbers eye-popping with the bases loaded for Carpenter. In his career, a .535 average.
We keep asking, does he have one more in him?
Yeah. He's already homered tonight. The shift is on the right side of the infield. And the first pitch is strike. Think about win right, very good slider. At times that deserted him last year. With a lefty at the plate, he could spin one and Carpenter could do some damage. Nothing in 2. All he can do is watch. Is set. And the 0-2. Carpenter with a fly ball out to deep left. That'll back up Parham. The catch is made. A run will score to make it a 6-2 game as the ball gets away, but properly backing up the play.
It's still a good at bat for Carpenter and gets a run in. I know he wants more than that, but last 2 balls that he has hit right on the nose, including this one. It's a pitch away, and he goes away with it. And that's not just a lazy fly ball the other way. That is driven.
Molina has hit one to the track in left center. He was robbed in the 6th, and a diving catch by Carlos Gonzalez on the line. And he's also flied out to left. Outfield straightaway, they are deep. These two matched up last night. To the backstop. And a throw to third. It gets away. Fowler will score. And it's 6-3.
Boy, that was a strange play that had a lot of twists and turns to it. An errant pitch, then a shot at getting Fowler at third, but the throw eludes Arenado, goes into left field. Fowler's able to score. That is a gift to the Cardinals on that wild pitch, and then the error.
The 4th on Murphy this year. A base hit, and you'd have the tying run come to the plate. Steps off the rubber. Now back on. 1 ball, no strikes on Yadier Molina. Hit to the right side. Handled by McMahon. The Cardinals pick up a pair. And it makes it a 6-3 Rockies lead. And it's our Chevy called to the pen. For Myers, his 32nd appearance. The lefty's only hitting .229 against him.
One of those guys that Mike Matheny early in the season was talking about, some of his right-handers that could be used to get left-handers out. He mentioned Bud Norris and Mike Myers both. And they both have been able to pound the pitch inside, the fastball in both cases. Norris has a bit more of a cutter than Myers has, and Myers has the slider to go along with the fastball. He's basically a two-pitch pitcher. Wasn't as a starter, but as a reliever, it's just here. Hit it. He's going to come right at you. Where were we, Dan? In Cincinnati, where he threw 100?
Yes.
I was stunned by that. He hasn't approached that since then.
No.
But he's in that rare group of people that can say he's thrown a fastball 100 miles an hour.
I bet he hit it during spring training. We just don't have the guns on the pitchers at that ballpark, depending on where they play. Some do, some don't. But boy, he was throwing hard in spring. And a lot of times you'll see that spring training guys a little bit more fresh.
Right.
Here's a 1-1. I give him a lot of credit after the disastrous first appearance in the big leagues. So there's no other way to phrase it. It was a disaster. It was a horrible start on national television, but to his credit, bounce back. Now coming out of the bullpen and being used as a vital piece of the bullpen. Munoz diving stop from his knees. Got him.
It's a nice play by Munoz. We've seen Colt Wong make plays like this as a second baseman, diving to his left, and the strong arm of Munoz, and he's pleased. He does have a great arm, doesn't he?
Tremendous.
I would say it'd be easy to overlook that, because he almost throws awkwardly, but he can throw hard.
Ian Desmond at the plate. 0 for 3 on the night. Rounded to short. Fly to right. Struck out. And walked and scored on the 2-run homer by Carlos Gonzalez in the 7th. Fastball at 97 right down the middle. The 1-1. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Don't forget now, on the air tomorrow, 6:30. Pre-game show. Jim Hayes will have a live guest and all the news of the day, leading you into Cardinal baseball. Another grounder. Munoz was going to his right. The ball to the left. And Desmond is aboard.
Well, that was a strange combination of plays. He makes a terrific play on the first one that he has this inning, and he just misread that off the bat. He thought that was going up the middle. Here's the line drive. He goes a step to his right, then back to his left. Then the ball gets under his glove anyway, and just an odd approach. Wonder if that hit off the mound oddly for him, or was he was expecting a different bounce off the mound.
Fastball and a strike to Arenado. Two strikes on Arenado. hit Molina's glove and then off the glove to the shoulder. Well, how beat up does he get over the course of 6 months?
That's probably a bruise. And how many does he have on a weekly basis?
A lot.
I know when we talk about the difficulties that a player deals with physically, mentally playing this game, you know, the assumption by people is we're thinking they don't love doing it. That's not what we're saying. I mean, they do. Mignotti loves it. He loves catching. He wants to catch every day. Just talking about the reality, Dan, of trying to compete at the highest level of your profession every day with sprains, bruises, etc.
How about 2, 4, 6, 3 on the double play and a scoreless inning for Mike Myers. Could they do it again? They're down by 3. We head to the bottom of the ninth. Last year was Greg Holland for Colorado. Now Wade Davis, our Chevy, called to the pen. His 47th appearance. Cardinals have not overcome a 5-run deficit yet this year. Colorado, their largest blown lead is 6 runs. Back on May 11th against Milwaukee. It's Paul DeYoung, Marcell Ozuna, and Jed Jerko. First pitch, strike.
Certainly not impossible, Dan, but the 2 runs in the 7th inning really hurt.
Home run by Carlos Gonzalez. Here's the 0-1 pitch to DeYoung. And a high fly ball lifted out to deep right, but that'll stay in the ballpark. Gonzalez the catch, and there's one away. The first out here in the bottom of the 9th. Marcell Ozuna will be the batter. Ozuna 0 for 3. Twice grounded out to Arenado and also flied out to right. The first pitch to him. Strike one. Ozuna, the blast and the walk-off homer last night. The 0-1. 0-2. And he struck him out. Let's turn to our Budweiser plays of the game. Charlie Blackmon, that home run with 2 outs off of Jack Flaherty midway through. And then Cargo, home run that Ricky was talking about. Just a line shot over the wall in right. And a pair of 2-run homers from those two, and the difference in this game. Jerko into right. This will do it. Gonzalez with the catch. And the Rockies take game 2 of the 4-game series by the final of 6-3.
It's a tough team to beat, in a series. Cardinals will have 2 more shots at this very good Rockies club.